lunchtime. Well, welcome y'all. It's right at 12:02 Eastern. So we'll get going. For those of you that I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Mac Hill. I'm Director of Client Relations at Easy Home Search, and we're excited to be back for another Wednesday. This is our way to give back to the community of real estate professionals. We usually have a lot of our team members joining, giving trainings on scripting and role playing. And every so often, we like to bring in one of our partners, an industry guest to present and share. And one of the things that's been on my mind for a lot of our partners recently is making sure we're doing enough to support a lot of the CRM training, and making sure folks are getting opportunities to get their system set up in the best way. So we know, we can generate a lot of leads. That's one thing, but really all of the value comes in how effective you are at managing your database, following up, and really systematizing things. So really important. And fortunately, we have one of the best in the business here in Elena Key. Elena, you've been running your own business for a little while now, or?
Coming up on 3 years, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, staying busy, and you're one of the admins or moderator, part of the mod squad and the FUB community as well. So very much well versed in all things CRM. So we're really excited to have her here. And again, I'm grateful for you taking time out of your busy day, Elena, to spend time with our community that's growing. And for y'all joining in, she's got a great presentation. Use the Q&A. I'm going to be on standby queuing things up, making sure y'all have an opportunity to ask questions too. And we'll just let you take it away from here, because no one really wants to hear from me, because I can just drone on for hours if y'all give me the opportunity to. So welcome, Elena. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mac, for that kind introduction. Thanks, Trisha. It's nice to see you on the video today. To ensure that what I'm sharing is relevant, in the chat, could you just say yes or no if you use Follow Up Boss currently as your CRM? Chris, yes. Angela, yes. Okay, I would assume then everyone's yes. Okay, great. So what's a little bit about myself. I've been a personal user of Follow Up Boss since 2015. So 9 years of Follow Up Boss user. And I've really been able to dive into all of that Follow Up Boss has to offer. Lots of trial and error over that 9 years of figuring out, because you can do one thing so many different ways. There's a lot of trial and error around a CRM like Follow Up Boss. I am curious if you could put in the chat, who thinks they're not taking full advantage of their Follow Up Boss CRM? Who thinks that they could be setting up more to work harder for you? Yeah. I see Nick just put up his hand very enthusiastically there. Yeah, so there are a lot of awesome and different ways to use Follow Up Boss to do simple tasks. There are multiple different ways to do it because the CRM is so malleable. It's very important to keep your foundation strong, whether you already have been using your CRM for a long time and feel confident in your foundations, or you're brand new, or it's never been touched. It's always a good idea once a year to review the foundations of your CRM before trying on advanced automations, advanced tools, and integrations. A lot of times a user of a CRM can fall in one of, I would say, 2 or 3 buckets. Bucket number 1 is you watch a lot of webinars. You watch the Wednesday webinars, maybe you watch Follow Up Boss webinars, maybe you buy guides on Etsy, or you see an ad on Facebook, like this is our playbook or whatever, and then you implement that playbook into your CRM. And then all of a sudden you don't really know what's going on anymore because you have so much happening. And then the alternative is you're kind of the opposite. Maybe you do watch some webinars, but you're a bit scared to implement anything in your CRM because you're scared the wrong message or email will be sent to the wrong person at the wrong time. You're going to piss someone off. So now it's just kind of a paid over glorified address book that no one's using. And at this point, you're kind of wondering, why do I even have a CRM? I could just have my contacts in my phone or in a spreadsheet. So in the webinar today, although there are, I would say, in my opinion, like 4 essential pillars to setting up your CRM, I'm mainly going to be focusing my time today on pillar number 1, which I think is most important. It may not be the sexiest, but it's the most important. So I'm curious in the chat, who uses tasks and Follow Up Boss as their primary daily workflow for either new lead outreach or follow-ups with nurtures or past clients? Yeah, I see Christopher. Okay, great, Chris. I'm glad to see that you use SmartList. So SmartList is the number one important pillar to what I would recommend using Follow Up Boss or any CRM for your follow up for leads. So if you are overwhelmed by how many tasks you have each day, tasks, if you're using them right now, you're probably already familiar with this. They become overwhelming for you, for your agents, if you have a team. If you miss a day's worth of calls or tasks, you are all of a sudden really far behind, especially if you do heavy lead generation through a company like Easy Home Search. You're generating a lot of leads. And if you have tasks to prompt you to call every new lead multiple times in a row on day 1, day 2, day 3, if you miss 1 or 2 days worth, you're all of a sudden really far behind and overwhelmed with tasks. And it can hurt your morale, and you can waste your time trying to figure out, once you do have the time to call through tasks, trying to figure out who in the world do I even call? Because you have a list of 50, 100 overdue tasks plus 25 for today. You might see, if I'm a lead in your CRM, you might see my name multiple times, because if you're wanting to remind yourself or your agents automatically to call on day 1, day 2, day 3, and it's been 3 days since the last time you went through your tasks, now you're juggling the problem of, well, what do I do with all these duplicate tasks for Elena? Do I check them off as done, even though I didn't actually do it? Do I push them forward? And then I'm messing up the future timeline of the action plan, assigning me more future tasks. I only have 30 minutes to call through my leads today. How do I pick who to prioritize unless I'm putting on the task name prioritize? There's really no easy way to do that unless you're looking at each lead one by one. So that's where smart lists are really powerful. And there's sort of kind of like the hidden superpower of Follow Up Boss for managing your follow up. So for those who aren't familiar with Follow Up Boss, or sorry, not Follow Up Boss, smart lists are dynamic, meaning they automatically update who shows up in which list when, depending on various filters you put in place. And you can turn these smart lists into calling lists, aka your daily task list. That way, if you do have a limited amount of time to call through your leads each day, you can be rest assured that you at least got through the top priority list. If you didn't get through all 10 or 13 lists you have in your database, at least you know you prioritize the most important ones. So whether or not you already use SmartList, you may, if you already use SmartList, you still may find value in this for some other ideas of different SmartLists to set up in your account, or a different approach than what you may be using in Follow Up Boss. Some other perks for using the SmartList is you can turn it into a quick calling list through the dialer. I'm curious in the chat if you can put a yes or a no if you currently use the Follow Up Boss dialer. And if you do you love the new AI summaries that Follow Up Boss has launched if you use that feature? Yeah, the new AI summary is awesome. So the benefit, I saw Doug, you said you don't use the dialer. The benefit of the dialer is if you opt in for recording, it records the conversation. And if you opt in for the AI, it summarizes your phone calls with a bulleted list and some recommended tasks that you can hand select for follow-ups after following the call. Another benefit of the dialer is you can quickly rapid fire call through all of those people in your list. And as soon as you make your calls, depending on the filters you have, you can have those leads automatically fall off the smart list so that you don't have to manually check off a task is done anymore. You can just use the dialer to call through those leads. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen and kind of walk through some different smart lists. Let me share screen and let's see. Do you see Follow Up Boss being shared? Okay, great. So I'm in blur mode. I'm in someone else's account, Chelsea Dillick. Thank you for giving me permission to use your account. So in Follow Up Boss, to find the smart list, if you're not familiar with them, you initially would click on people and then all people. And all people is not a smart list. All people should be showing you all of the leads in your Follow Up Boss account. And if this number here doesn't sound right to you, if it looks like it's less people than it should be, on the far right side, you may see this filter box here. If you don't, click on this button here to expand and just make sure you've clear your filters in case you're wondering why the numbers don't match. But then to the right of all people, you probably have some lists, whether or not you created them yourself or Follow Up Boss gave you some, or maybe the team at Easy Home Search gave you some. These are called smart lists. So I'm going to walk you through some of my favorite smart lists to help you prioritize who to call. So list number 1 is a very simple list. I put this at the front because these are your current clients that you're working with. So it's a static list, meaning they're always going to be on this list as long as they are in one of these stages. We don't want leads that you're currently working with to disappear because oftentimes you're talking to these people multiple times a day. So it's as simple as a filter. In this case, I use these stages, but you may or may not use different stages to mean the same thing. I use the active client stage, which means they are a buyer you're showing homes to or have a signed buyer rep agreement. And on the seller side, that means they have a signed listing agreement, prepping the home for sale or active on the market. And then pending, meaning offer accepted pending the sale of the home. So it's a static list of people in those stages. And Chelsea sorts by created. I typically recommend sorting the list by last communication, oldest to newest. That way you're not calling the same people every time. When you call Trey, for example, if you call Trey today, Trey won't disappear from the list, but he'll go to the bottom of the list. That way, if you go to this list tomorrow, Trey's not at the top because you just talked to him. Taryn's on the top. So does that make sense so far with this very first static list to everybody? Alrighty. And then if you don't know how to create a list, you just click this plus button here on the top right side. I'm trying to make my cursor really big. There it goes. I click the plus button there and you can name it however you like. I call it active and pending clients. And then if you have a team, you can choose whether or not to share with everyone or specific people, and then click save. And now you've got that list saved. And then we move on to your daily prospecting. So this is where we're starting to stack more filters so that we're only seeing people we actually need to see. So this list, I've split the new leads into 2 separate lists. The reason for this is we want to ensure at least one call is made to every lead. So we don't want this list cluttered with leads you've already attempted at least once. We need to make sure you at least attempt a lead one time, and then they would move on to list number 3. So the way we solve that is through these filters. Again, these filters may vary depending on the stages you use in Follow Up Boss. I personally use the lead stage, which means it's a lead in your database you haven't reached, but you're continuing to try. That's my definition of lead. They're in the new list because they were created less than 14 days ago. The phone number is good. This is a calling list. And you may be wondering, well, I may want to see both good and bad and empty numbers. That's a good goal to have, but the whole purpose and goal of Smart Lists is to not only be calling lists, but also to give you a realistic daily workflow. So if I look at Chelsea's team here, they've got 37 people just in list number 2. And their daily goal as a team is to call through the first 7 lists. So if I click to expand this to not require that phone is good filter, it bumps it up to 44 people. So before you start to show people without a good number, ensure that you can get through your first initial list that are the highest priority before you add on more leads. And instead use automation to supplement for not only leads without a good phone number to call, but for leads with a good number to call to supplement what you're doing to do the outreach. That's where the automation Follow Up Boss is so helpful. And then you want to show last call is empty. This is how Follow Up Boss knows in the smart list. I've called it no call attempt, meaning the last outgoing call is empty. And this is where the Follow Up Boss dialer is so helpful, is if you haven't logged your call either manually or through the smart list, then the lead, sorry, someone was asking me a question. If you don't log the call either, you need to log call manually or through the dialer in order for the lead to fall through the list. So the dialer saves you a lot of time from having to manually log that call. In this case, Chelsea uses Wise Hire and Hireology to recruit. So she's excluding those sources because they're not true leads that they need to follow up with for lead generation. They have separate lists for their recruiting. So the way this list works, oh, and one more thing, I sort it by created, new to old. So there is some catching up to do for Chelsea's team here, because if I scroll down to the bottom, some of these leads are 13 days old. And these people stay on here until they're past 14 days to be considered new. So Paul only has one more day to be on this list. Does that make sense so far? I know I went through those filters really fast, but it seems like most people watching already have some familiarity with smart lists. Okay, great. So the way this list works then, if you use the dialer, is you can either select all to start a calling list or just open the first person and call them. And once you call them, they disappear from the list. So let's say you attempted to reach Angela. If there's no success, you either use the dialer to log the call or you manually log the call. And if you don't reach Angela, that's all you need to do other than logging the call. And then what will happen is Follow Up Boss will have Angela disappear from this list. But the good thing is she doesn't go into the abyss, lost into the infinity of 11,000 leads. That's where the next list is so helpful. Angela will show up in list number 3 tomorrow to try again. So we use very similar filters here. They're still staged lead. They're still less than 14 days old. They still have to have a good number. But now instead of showing where call is empty, we're showing where call is not empty, meaning you have made an attempted phone call, but your number of call attempts is less than 10. I'm sure the team at Easy Home Search has told you this, that it takes multiple attempts to reach leads, especially online leads. So I personally say try 10 times to reach a lead. And then last communication was more than 1 day ago. And then you're going to sort the smart list by last communication, old to new. And so what will happen if I call Donna and I'm not able to reach Donna, Donna will disappear from this list. Follow Up Boss will wait 24 hours and then show Donna again in the list tomorrow, but she won't be at the top because we're sorting last communication oldest to newest. Since she's newer, she'll be at the bottom. And so leads will keep populating once a day, every day, until one of two things happen. The first is you reach a lead and you change the stage from lead to something else to indicate they're no longer a lead you haven't reached, or the 14 days has passed and they're no longer considered new and they go into one of your old lead lists. Is everyone kind of following that flow for this list? Okay, great. And feel free to jump in and into, I think, Mac, you said there's like a Q&A or a chat if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going and I can kind of go fast paced sometimes. So let me know if I need to slow down. I'm going to skip the next 2 lists. These 2 lists are specific to people who use like Fellow or a Real Scout or something like that. So I'll skip those 2 lists and go straight to back to website. So back to website will show anyone either coming back directly to your website or engaging with one of your outside integrations or registering on some type of landing page, whether you're running an ad where you ask them to register for something, or you have other lead sources that you are pushing to Follow Up Boss and they register. So let's say you generated a lead 6 months ago from your website, and then today they registered on Zillow, they would show up on this list. So this one, we want to exclude certain stages. So we're only seeing people we actually need to see. So we do exclude people staged active client or pending. And that's because they're already in list number one to call it often. So we don't need to see these leads again here. We don't need to see the duplicated leads there. Otherwise, that's bringing the same problem you would have with tasks of seeing me multiple times with multiple tasks. So we exclude people that are already in list number one. The next filter is was created more than 14 days ago for the same reason as excluding those stages. We want to exclude people that are already list number 2 or 3. If they're already in list number 2 or 3, we don't also need to see them in list number 6. Otherwise, you're going to have leads duplicated, and you and or agents on your team are going to get frustrated seeing the leads multiple spots. Phone is good. Again, this is a calling list. Use automation to supplement your calling efforts, and use automation for the leads that don't have a good number. Last communication, I'm a bit generous here. You can be a bit more aggressive. I'm more generous because this list already has 81 people. I set it to be last communication more than 14 days ago. You can certainly be more aggressive if you want to, but since this team has 81 leads, they still need to catch up on just in one list. I'm not going to make this list more aggressive for them. But if you're finding yourself able to get through this list and other top priority lists and you still have time, then certainly make it like every 3 days or every 1 day, because although these are not considered new leads, they are re-engaging, they're showing motivation by their behavior. And so they are another top priority list of leads to call. And then we show people who have been active in some way on a website, on a landing page, on an IDX in the past 14 days. And then we sort the list by last activity, newest to oldest, so that we have that speed to lead just with like the new lead lists. So I know I went through those filters fairly quickly, but was that kind of making sense to everybody? Yeah, okay. So Christo, sorry, I see your direct message. I'll just put in my email in the chat because you said you have to hop off. So then the way this list works is just like the others. Once you log your call to Linda, Linda disappears and then won't reappear again unless Linda is active again. Or if you make this more aggressive to be every 3 days or every 1 day, Linda will appear tomorrow on the bottom of the list because you just attempted to call her today. Then the final top priority list, I would say, is your HOTs. So I consider HOT someone you've spoken to that is looking to buy or sell in less than 3 months. And you have not talked to them in the past week. Again, feel free to be more aggressive than this, but this team has 275 people to get through. So there's no way I can expect them to call through people daily when they already have 275 people here. So again, with the theme of simplicity and having a realistic workflow, adjust the filters as needed. As your database continues to grow, as your nurtured database continues to grow, 7 days is probably not realistic for Chelsea's team anymore because they have so many HOTs. We may need to adjust this to be every 14 days to be more realistic for their team to get through their list of people. And this one's fairly simple. You just call Billy or Deborah, log the call, and then they fall off the list. Follow-up boss waits 7 days and then shows that person again after 7 days has passed, but that person will be on the bottom. Does that make sense for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lists? Awesome. Then the following lists follow a similar structure to list number 7. List number 8 are people that you've indicated that are looking to buy or sell in 3 to 6 months. We show these people to show up every 14 days. Cold is looking 6+ months in advance, or they're renting, but they're considering buying in the future. Then they show up every 60 days. And then we've got past clients and Sphere. So we combine both into one smart list. to follow up with every 90 days. Looks like they have a lot of catch up to do. They have 1,300 people here. And then the last two lists are where sort of all of the older leads get dumped into. So this is probably where the majority of your database lives, and it helps you kind of get a reality check. So list number 11 is showing people that have a good number to call that never had a call attempt. So this one is a very revealing list. If you don't have something like this, I recommend, even if just temporarily, adding these filters to your database to see how many older leads with good numbers never even got a single phone call attempt from you or your team. So the way we find these people is they're still staged lead, meaning they're still a lead in your database that you haven't reached, but you're continuing to try. But now they're older than 14 days old because they're no longer considered new. They're no longer in a list number 2 or 3. And phone is good, and last call attempt is empty. I have this sorted by created, new to old. So there are some people here that are still kind of new 17 days ago, but still no logged call attempt. But this can be a big reality check for a lot of y'all to see how many leads went without a single attempt. Let alone we know it takes 5, 6, 7 attempts a lot of times with online leads to reach someone. Then the final list are older leads not reached, but you're continuing to try. So still staged lead, still created more than 14 days ago. Phone is good, but last call is not empty. There has been at least one attempted call, but there have been less than 10 calls made. And the last attempt was 30 days ago. So again, feel free to make this more aggressive or less aggressive. Chelsea's team has 2,400 people, so I'm not going to make this more aggressive for them. And it looks like they have some big catching up to do, some leads here 5 years ago. So lots of catching up to, but I don't blame them because they already have 200 people in the hot, almost 300 people in the hot list. So there's no way they'll get to list number 12 unless they block entire days to get through these lists, or if they have an ISA on their team. So went through those 12 pretty quickly, but did anyone have any follow-up questions to those 10 lists? Trisha, I see your question about list number 1 through 7, 8 through 12. How often do you call on those, or would those might be more of an ISA? Daily, I would try to keep lists number 1 through 7 at a 0. And then if you have time, get through 8 through 12. But 8 through 12 is where agents really struggle to find time to get through those people, unless you make it a point to time block or have an ISA. So depending on your ISA structure, I'm not sure when you want an ISA involved or not, but you may want them involved in the warm and the cold lists, and definitely the older lead lists. Past clients, probably not an ISA, probably the agent assigned to that past client. Will we be able to get the filters for the list sent to us? Yeah, so I think this is being recorded, so you can see the recording with the filters, but I'll also be sharing a free download for you all to get a written version of these lists and the filters.
That's awesome.
Cool. Although I really want to go into pillar 2 of a CRM, I don't think we'll have time because that's like another 30, 45 minute topic.
That just means we'll have to schedule another one, Elena. We'll keep it going semi-regularly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The smart list is just one button on here in Follow Boss. You've got all of these, and even within this toolbar, you've got all of these within one toolbar option. So there's a lot you can dig into here in Follow Boss. But smart list, I say, is like number 1 priority foundation to set up before anything else. And then pillar number 2, which is the more exciting, sexier part of the CRM, is automation and action plans. And boy, can you do a lot with that.
Yeah, that sounds more like an hour or 2, perhaps even.
Yeah, because there's a lot of best practices surrounding that, and I'm sure that will get
There are probably
questions.
some more pitfalls too, I'd imagine, with automation. You just want to be careful with,
Yes.
who's being sent what. So, again, love that you're being very strategic and deliberate here and making sure lists are, top priority first before you dive into just, firing off emails and texts and
Yeah.
everything to your database as well. So,
Yeah. The downside of um, a lot of people is they will set up automation thinking that that's all they need to do, and they think they don't have to make calls anymore. But automation will never replace you. It just is meant to supplement and encourage more responses. But you're never going to have a magical email or drip campaign that will get 100% response rate and you don't have to make calls anymore. That just doesn't exist. But it just depends on people's preference for how they want to communicate. Maybe some people do prefer email, and so they'll respond to an email, but it's never going to replace a phone call.
yeah, you got to cover all your bases.
Yeah, for sure.
So, did you want to share how
Oh,
folks
yes.
can get
Sorry, about
access
to
to your
totally
to your
forget.
list here?
Yeah, so I'm about to share two QR codes. I have two guides that go into best practices for setting up Follow Up Boss. The first guide I'm going to show you is for a solo agent. Are there any solo agents on this chat? The second guide is for a
One.
team leader or team.
Okay, perfect. Looks like
So,
maybe a handful of solo agents here, and um, looks like there are quite a few team leaders that
okay,
work
great.
as well.
So the first one up is the QR code for a solo agent. The The guide includes a small fraction of the guide covers what we went over today, but it's a lot more expansive and extensive. SmartList is just one part of a setup. So just to show you, this is what it looks like. So the good looks like, so giving all of this away for free of step by step for setting up Follow Boss for success. So in exchange for your contact details, you'll receive that guide. It has both video and written instructions. And then if you are a team leader, although the foundation is the same, there are a few extra best practices that are only relevant to a team.
Hmm.
So feel free to scan this QR code to get that guide.
And I think that that's a perfectly fair trade to give your contact info because trust me, you'll want to hear from Elena a lot more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward if you'll have me back to talk about best practices for action
Yeah.
plan automations, pitfalls, and is what people's worst fear is sending the wrong message to the wrong person at the wrong time and pissing someone off.
Maybe that's just a secret strategy that people haven't, stumbled upon since something that's totally, off the cuff and unrelated and get them to respond. And then you just have an opportunity to recover. Maybe not advised, but
Yeah, like with
trying to make the best of a bad situation is what I'm getting at.
yeah, for sure. Like if you use an AI texting bot, it's never going to be perfect, and you can just
Right.
say, "Oh, yeah, my assistant's new," or whatever that script is that you use, and that helps kind of soften the mess up there.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, gang. Well, Elena, real pleasure. Thank you again for taking the time to discuss this first pillar. Those of you that attended, thank you for taking the time to commit to getting a little bit better each and every day. We'll connect with Elena offline after this and see if we can maybe schedule a follow-up for some of the additional pillars. Because I know that there's a lot of value that she can provide and bring to our community. So we'll keep talking and working with her. But again, thank you all for taking the time. This Wednesday, 2 weeks, we'll be back with another Winning Wednesday. We'll have one of our other partners joining too from Homeward. If y'all aren't familiar with Homeward, they are our partner for cash offer solutions. And we have one of their team members and trainers joining to talk all about how you can be leveraging cash offers in your business to create more listing opportunities, to create a better service offering for your prospective sellers as well. And overall, my experience with that team has been pretty top notch. So keep your eyes peeled. If you're not in our Easy Home Search Facebook community, be sure to join. We share pretty much all of our Winning Wednesday information there, and we'd love to see y'all on the next one for sure. But again, Elena, we appreciate you and are thankful to have you as a partner, and we'll keep working with you to find a time for the next one.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mac. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, our pleasure. All right, gang. Good seeing y'all. Have a good one. Easy swag, Christopher. We'll get you. We're working on. We've been discussing, without spoiling it for everyone. A little welcome pack for Easy Partners. So stay tuned. I'll get you some good stuff soon. Cheers, gang. Thanks, y'all. Make it a great Wednesday. I'll see y'all soon.